Dunkin' not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor yet. We will take sponsorship in free coffee for life.
Free coffee for life, and there'll be a big fat pair of double D's right here.
Or wouldn't that be ironic? It's 2 D's, but literally hilarious. Anyway,
but I'm tis.
So for those of you that have not had the pleasure of getting to spend any quality time with Aaron over here, there's a lot of Aaronisms that go on, and they're all really good. One of my favorite Aaronisms, if you will, was an explanation you gave me of what the hell was wrong with hip-hop. What you told me was that hip-hop was currently going through its punk phase.
I did say that.
Loved that, and it made so much sense to me, especially as a kid of like the late 90s,
Yes.
early 2000s. I really got it, and I wanted to see if you could explain a little bit more to the listeners what exactly you mean by that.
The music industry is cyclical. Everything comes in cycles, and I think my hypothesis, and only time will tell, we'll be able to look back and see if this was correct, but I think the people who are hip-hop purists are always complaining about the mumble rap and this, that, the other thing, and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, the argument about what is mumble rap and is that even a bad thing to be, and yada, 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 and why is everyone so sad? And this is, so a lot of people, but my analysis, if you will, is I think hip-hop is very much, I mean, it's the mainstream right now. It is very much... Hip-hop is in. Hip-hop it's influencing everything. It's influencing country music. It's influencing in genres and things that you never would have thought it would.
And is now the biggest genre that overtook rock for the first time.
Yeah.
Ever.
Exactly. So
indicative.
It's in, and it's not going anywhere, and it's not slowing down anytime soon, and I don't think we've quite hit the peak yet. I think we might be getting there, but we haven't gone there yet. But it's its punk phase. That's what's happening right now. And if I'm comparing it, we could say, if you look at sort of some people, the true hip hop heads and stuff kind of like look at like the 90s as sort of the golden era, if you will, of hip hop and kind of where it is in relation to its like, its true foundation. And then we get sort of into the bling era of the 2000s. And if I had to draw the analogy to that...
Wrap me up in a warm blanket a bit.
Well, like the same way rock purists look at the 70s as like the, where everything that's worth really, the classic rock kind of like in that, when people say classic rock, I mean, I think are really referring to that sort of era, and looking at, all the bands that came out and all the music that came out of that era. And then we sort of go into the 80s and we go to sort of get like the hair metal phase and sort of things like that. I think there's, our bling era sort of dabbled in sort of the hair metal phase a little bit, where it was all about, kind of the spectacle of it and the cars and the ice and the this and you got Paul Wall with his grills and you...
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
It's sort of that sort of became part of the culture, and then that sort of died off, but just how the excess and like the lavish sort of hair metal phase gave way sort of to the punk phase, sort of this underground counterculture is the same way. Now you get sort of, that punk phase a little bit where I think we're kind of hitting in hip hop now, where this is kind of the reaction to what has come before it, and it's sort of its next evolution.
So with that logic in mind, what do you think is next? Where do we go from here in hip hop if it follows that kind of cycle? Please say it gets better. I'm so scared.
Well, I was gonna say I wouldn't say it's necessarily in a bad place. I don't know if I would say that. There are, I think, just like anything else, I think there are a lot of really interesting, groundbreaking stuff that's going on right now.
It's just not mainstream is the problem.
Sure.
That's my problem. There's good out there.
Totally. I mean, I think it depends where you look and sort of what's in and, what's topping charts and things like that is always going to be something that's subject for debate. Where it's going, though, it's hard to say, and I don't know that I have any indication yet exactly where that's going to go. I don't know if I think there's going to be a change coming back. I don't know if it's going to go back on anything like that, because inevitably, you know, music should always be progressing forward. But I think we may see a resurgence of looking at sort of some of more of those golden age sort of things. We're looking at sort of the musicality of it a little bit, because right now we've sort of steamrolled it into this sort of homogenous sort of vibe a little bit, where everything we're about to reach peak trap. I think the trap vibe is
how dreadful.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot more that can be done in that style. There's not a whole lot more that can be done to innovate. We've kind of, I mean, trap has been with us longer than most people, like, I think, realize sometimes. I mean, we're talking probably 20 years it's been a thing. But it started as, you know, a southern underground sort of sound, and then sort of has become the mainstream basis. And now where it's heading next, I think it's going to be, it has to naturally kind of peel away from that, because like I said, I think we're pushing towards peak trap, where there's just not much more that can be done in that triplet style flow. That
I agree. People of all ages too, and this is not just an our age thing, people younger, people older. When I ask them, you know, what kind of music they like, just conversationally, or even like specifically, do you like hip hop? They will always specify and say, well, I like hip hop, but I like old hip hop.
Sure.
I don't listen to current hip hop. If I say, who's your favorite artist? Like, well, I don't listen to hip hop now.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting. I mean, there's people that definitely are in it and love it.
Sure.
But there are so many people that go out of their way to really explain that what's current is not a representation of the music that I like. So it should be very interesting what comes next, and when people start maybe getting, you know, back on the same road again, maybe where the things that they maybe feel like there is missing in current hip hop music as far as the mainstream stuff goes is going to start intersecting a little bit more.
Sure. I think it's probably also going to see a lot more of a blend now that it is sort of the dominant genre. I think there's also going to be, anything moving forward is going to possibly be much more of a mixture of things than even before. A little bit. I think that's also possible. I mean, you're seeing already a lot of crossover type collaborations and things, and a lot of other people, a lot of new artists who are kind of already sort of straddling genres a little bit. So I think that might also be kind of where the future is sort of maybe a new mashup of sorts.
Gotcha. Well, we will have to wait and see.
We will. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you.
I'm Xtine Elise.
I'm Aaron.
Soul Man Stan. Find us on Instagram and everywhere else you consume awesome and fun things like us. Thanks for watching.